Scientists tell us that our bodies completely renew ourselves every 7 years. By that count, I'm almost 5 times an American. Yet when I go back to India to see my parents, almost every year people say to me, your accent hasn't changed, or your Urdu, your Hindi is so fluent. And I feel this rush of pleasure as if I had forestalled some major infection. I haven't changed. Is that really such a good thing? Isn't migration all about change and reinvention? I know that in my thinking, my expectations from my life, my standards of living have changed hugely from that poor student who landed at JFK in 1988 with $500 in traveler's checks in her purse and a suitcase filled with a sheet, a pillow cover, a pressure cooker, and as many books as would fit into that suitcase. I'm sure in a lot of external ways, I've made many changes to my life. That evening in August, I waited at arrivals for an hour for my uncle, who was supposed to pick me up, to show up so that he could show me how to navigate this new country. But he never arrived, just like that. Then in one of the many actions against setbacks that I was to learn were so common when you didn't have the buffer of family or idiom, I booked a cab to take me to my suburban college campus 60 miles away. 60 miles for $60. And just like that, I lost a sixth of my budget for the entire semester. For that entire first week, I made sure I attended all welcome events for new students so that I could bring home cold leftover pizza and Coke to my dorm room. I became a connoisseur of cold pizza. Over the next 5 years, I took courses, I learned new subjects, I prepared for and wrote my PhD dissertation. I developed in so many ways. Yet in other ways, I forestalled any major change because the path for me had been laid out many years before. Study, get good grades, get a degree, and a good job. Above all, get a safe job that you can't be fired from. As a child of refugees, the imperative of security was drilled into me from the outset. Everything I did, studying, writing, applying for jobs, for visas, were all geared to security, economic and emotional security. Bad enough that I'd almost rocked the boat by choosing to study literature instead of engineering or management or getting an MBA, that big hedge against insecurity. I couldn't fail now that I had made my little rebellion. I dared not. So I worked hard and made sure I could craft a life for myself. And for that life, I made many safe choices about my job. As a response to my parents allowing me to escape an arranged marriage and travel overseas, I proved myself a good daughter. I studied hard, I got a job, I set a good example for my siblings. I kept my focus on the end result. And I never asked myself if I was satisfied. Did I want anything different? Could I even do anything else? I scrimped and saved as I lived on my student stipend and I didn't get into debt. I taught extra courses over the summer so I would have some money to buy a plane ticket to go visit my parents. My intellectual life grew and expanded, but my emotional life remained tied to their ideals, not mine. I wanted what they wanted for me. Eventually, I got a tenure-track job in Chicago. My dad was worried. The city had too many gangs, he said. Al Capone, shootings, gang warfare. Couldn't I find a job in a safer town? They hadn't even heard of DePaul. I was a bit of a disappointment, but then any job was better than no job at all. I explained it to them. They understood. I never asked myself, was I happy? But I did reassure myself that they were happy. Grudging as it was, their happiness was my yardstick to measure myself. Now it's been 25 years that I've been working at DePaul. My parents even visited me in Chicago twice. They liked the city after all these years. Their happiness was complete. And then I suddenly asked myself a question. Do I like what I do? Have I become someone that I wanted to be? I was surprised at the panic that this question evoked. You have to understand, it's very hard and a very strange question to be asking myself. And it came about in an odd way. I got into a bit of an argument with a student in my class who kept insisting on the importance of their identity, the right to be true to who I am, she said. I was amazed and I was puzzled and I was a little angry. I said to her, "You're 22. How do you know who or what you are? Aren't you a mix of different things just like everybody else? A daughter, a woman, a mate, a friend, a nationality, an ethnicity, a worker, a sister? What does it mean to have one identity? To be who you are?" It was a tautology. It made no sense to me. That evening, I thought to myself, what is my identity? Do I know who I am? And I didn't, not in any real way. Intellectually, I knew, of course, what identity was, how we are formed, how we are interpolated through discourses, through structures, through ideologies. Also, I didn't like the imperative inherent in the demand to know who you are. But identity kept coming back to me like a large threatening giant with a speech defect, suddenly appearing before me and wanting something, except I couldn't really understand. But even as I had dismissed the student, the question she raised had burrowed under my skin like a maggot. Not so much, who am I? But what did I want? What did I want to be? What kind of person? What kind of writer? What kind of thinker? What did I really want to work on or not work on? Could I reject the unwanted imperatives that I had lived with every day in my career? Did I enjoy my career? Are there other things I could enjoy doing much more than this? What are they? Can I even name them? In midlife, I started questioning myself, and it was a terrible thing to do because it destroyed me. I left my administrative job. I retreated from engaging with everything, all the certainties of the life that I had taken for granted, the importance of work, of career, of a trajectory, of tenure, promotion, administration, publication, all shattered. I sank into despair. Had I wasted my life? Had I lived a life unexamined? Had I adopted the standards of others' happiness? Ultimately, was I happy? My advice to you is don't go there. These are terrible questions. Terribly large and overwhelming, but also terrible because there are no objective answers to them. Nothing that can help you answer them. In order to answer them, you have to go deep within yourself and reject all the people-pleasing platitudes that we live with our whole lives. As women of color, as immigrant women, as women who don't belong in too many places, our existence is all about pleasing our families, our peers, our judges, our men, our gods, our colleagues, our employers. Pleasing ourselves is a choice that is buried under hundreds of subconscious layers of obligation. So we forget not just our pleasures, but we forget ourselves. And I don't say this in an affirmative, Oprah-esque burst of assertion. Ding dong, you won a prize for putting yourself first. Here's a new car. Here's a spa day. No, I say this in sadness and in tiredness. I'm sad because I never knew what I really wanted. I'm sad that I didn't let myself change enough. I'm sad that I didn't take risks. I'm sad because I didn't explore my own mind deeply enough to find out its nooks and crannies, its shape, I live with the knowledge of my cowardice, my reluctance to ask uncomfortable questions. And even if I can't say yes to what people ask of me, maybe I can change enough to say no. No to things I'm not crazy about. No to things that don't make me happy. No to stuff that's easy and convenient and would make everybody happy, but to me it's just, man. Maybe I can say no when every instinct in my well-trained body says, raise your hand, jump in, impress people, get an A. Maybe I can stay quiet and save some energy for myself to just sit in a chair and think useless thoughts. Just maybe, and maybe I can change.